Hello everybody and welcome back to another video on the channel, and in today's video I want to talk about some things that Wizard101 is doing right as of recently. I'll be talking about mostly PvP things in this video, but I do want to talk about something Rapbeard teased on his stream this morning actually, and that's the fact of the matter that they're actually going to be changing the guild cooldown interaction. So if you guys don't know, the way it works right now is when you leave a guild, that's when the clock and the timer for 2 weeks starts ticking. However, how it's going to work now is when you actually join that guild, it's going to start ticking that 2-week cooldown. So for example, in Live Realm, if I were going to leave my own guild, I would have to wait 2 weeks to join another guild. But with this new change that's going to be coming to, the next update, I assume the spring update, essentially, I could leave my guild right now and join a new one right away, probably within the same day. This is something that the community suggested actually, and I think it's actually a pretty good idea in my opinion. It didn't really make a lot of sense to me why it was the way it has been for so long, but I do think this is great, and it should make, leaving and joining a guild feel a lot better in my opinion. Now let's talk about the PvP or advanced content stuff. Now this stuff is really exciting. Now a lot of this stuff comes from Artie. I'll put the screenshots up on screen. So here's what Artie has to say. At one point it felt that 5 schools were okay, just need to figure out Storm and Ice. Ice's issue seems more obvious than Storm, to be honest. The 5 schools he's talking about, if you don't know, are obviously the big 3: Balance, Myth, and Death. And then Fire got better as of the recent stat buff, and obviously Life is always, not that terrible in general in the meta. Balance DPP should be used on balance spells. Then we were discussing mitigation echoes happening after the hit. We've seen the feedback from the community regarding Hydra. I want to say real quick here, thank you Artie for being transparent. I really do appreciate this, and I think a lot of the community does as well. Artie's been very active as of the new year. I really appreciate this form of transparency, and I'm hoping we can keep this tempo going for PvP and transparency, just going forward in general this year. And then we have another screenshot basically of him saying the echo is after the hit. So basically how the Hydra is going to work is it's gonna hit, and then if you have remaining shields, it's going to echo those back onto the balance. So if you elemental shield now, as of this, new Hydra, presumably, it's actually going to counter Hydra, because it's going to mitigate the damage on the Ellie shield, and they're not going to get the echoes back to defend themselves. So it's just going to be a bad move, as it should have been in the first place. So I think that's a great thing to see. Obviously, we have to wait on them to make it balanced damage per pip. In case you guys don't know right now, Hydra's damage per pip is actually above Fire's damage per pip, because it takes the average of Storm, Ice, and Fire, which actually, I believe, balances out to be above 100 DPP, which is Fire's DPP. So they'll have to be nerfing that as well sometime soon, and Artie is aware of that problem and is looking to do something about it. So really looking forward to this. Right now it's just really annoying to play balance, because they always burn, they always brace, and they always Hydra, no matter who they play against. It's always the same strat, and it's really annoying. And I personally really hate when balance gets to be in this state, because it just really doesn't take any skill to play the school. And balance is my second favorite school, guys, right? I love to play balance when it's a skill meta. Like, at the end of 4th age there, start of 5th age, where balance was kind of mid and took a lot of skill to play, I was playing balance more than Storm, if anything, right? So I do really like schools that require skill and have a lot of skill expression to them, but right now it's just not the case. The meta is so brain dead. We have literal 1600, 1700 max rank players getting to Marshall now because they pick either balance, death, or myth, and it's kind of sad to see, but I am looking forward to see this change come. I also do want to comment on Storm and Ice, is what he brings up in the first point there. Ice's problem, they seem to know what that is, and they'll be tackling that. Storm's problem is a lot of things, right? I guess we could talk about this right here. in the video. I made a whole video, a lot of videos actually, discussing in depth the issues with the Storm School in advanced content and identity. But there's a couple of main issues with Storm right now. One, the combat model, which is supposed to favor Storm, actually doesn't work, because if you trade hits right now in the meta, you will just end up losing, right? For example, if I trade a Triton with a Hydra, I'm going to lose that because Hydra does more. Also, some schools have, you know, TCs that aren't banned, like Everburn. So fire stats will, you know, Everburn will beat Triton, for example, or Sun Serpent will beat Storm Owl, or Sabretooth will beat Storm Owl, right? There's so many, you know, variables in the meta, and so many, I guess, infractions, I suppose. Like, things just aren't balanced or standardized at all. So they can't really standardize things within the combat model because a lot of things haven't been standardized and enforced in their game. So that's why you're seeing Storm lose trades, right? As a Storm, you should be wanting to hit more, and if your opponent goes face to face, toe to toe with the Storm, you should be penalized and punished for that. But in the meta, you aren't right now, with how the stats work and how DPP is currently not standardized at the moment. So that's the first issue with Storm, is their stats and the DPP not being standardized on all schools. Second thing is the fact of the matter that their shield gambits are really overpowered, and they still don't have good counters to them. You know, we don't have any good counters to single shields, or, you know, double shields or tri shields at all right now in the meta. And if you try to engage with the system and use the current counters, you'll just end up losing and getting outpaced because they're just not good cards, unfortunately. So that is a thing. Also, Storm's hanging effects in terms of Rochambeau, so that's Blades, Hots, and Weaknesses, are all probably some of the worst ones. Weaknesses in general are kind of an underdeveloped mechanic. You know, all we can really do is threefold. We don't have like a tri weakness, like a tri shield yet in the game. So it's just, you know, a little bit underdeveloped, unfortunately. Then we have Hots, which are just the worst one in the game because they actually run out before you can use it, or gambit them, typically, right? And the heal over time doesn't matter when you are dead now. So those two things make it really, really bad. Also, another issue is the fact of the matter that there's no good, reliable ways to obtain pots and preserve them in the game and the meta right now. And lastly, we have Blades. Blades aren't really that good because of how overpowered Banshee is, and every school runs it except for maybe one or two right now. And also, Earthquake is ran by most people as well, because that still, again, isn't banned or standardized in terms of Rochambeau. So as you can see, Storm basically has almost nothing good going for it. And also, on top of this, you cannot even hit all of your stat maxes like the other schools can, because your stats just aren't good right now, unfortunately. So I have communicated all this stuff to Artie and the developers. I think Stormbringer was actually doing some PvP, I heard. I'm not sure if that was true or not, but I saw a screenshot in my general chat. So pretty interesting to see Stormbringer try out PvP, and maybe he'll get a taste of the meta and understand what's going on. I think the screenshot was him like getting blown up by a Mythgen or something, which is pretty funny. And like I said in the video here, the problem with the combat model is the fact of the matter, we don't have legacy identity anymore, and the gap is not big enough between Storm and Fire and every other school in terms of damage that you don't actually feel like you're doing more damage. So it completely shatters that immersion, and you're at an objective disadvantage because your stat burden. If they do want to keep the current stat burden, I would suggest either making Storm and Fire just do more damage right now, or they need to lift that stat burden or put it onto more schools somehow. Not really sure how they would do that. So yeah, that's what's wrong with their philosophy and the combat model right now. But I mean, so far, as of lately, ever since, like, you know, the Nightmare update and stuff like that, and that whole roundtable controversy, they've been very, very transparent, and we got an update out pretty fast with that Nightmare thing. So I am, you know, looking forward to things here, and I really hope the game can keep this tempo and pace going forward. I am optimistic for the future of Wiz still, but, you know, I'm still being a bit cautious because, you know, it just kind of feels like we've been let down the past couple of years, and especially like if you're a Storm main, like you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, right? We've had some of the same problems going on with Storm for months and years at this point, right? And you know, yeah, hopefully we can see some change happen and every school can at least be playable and stuff like that, because there was one point where every school was on the first page, but as of right now, it's just the same 3 schools. But yeah, man, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys on the next one. Thank you for watching, and take care, y'all.